Welcome back to NHI Chat. I'm April Glasgow. NHI Chat is a social media program brought to you by the National Health Insurance of the Virgin Islands. September means back to school, and like many parents, I'm sure the struggle has already begun. My personal struggle is preparing healthy meals both at home and at school to make my own life and your lives a bit easier. I spoke with Gabrielle Hoyte, nutritionist with the BVI Health Services Authority, on what makes a healthy lunchbox. Stay tuned for more. So my first question to you is, what are the healthy lunchbox staples for preschoolers, kindergartners, and high schoolers?
Before I answer that, let me applaud lunchboxes on a whole, because it's a lot easier to be healthy when you have a lunchbox versus when you have money, like when you send your kids to school with money. So let me just give an applaud for lunchboxes, first of all. Now staples, over the age groups it doesn't really matter, the amounts might change, but for staples I would say water, fruit, vegetables, healthy grains, and then lean, simple proteins. And that's basically it for kids, just like for us.
Okay, so what about portions?
Portions, okay. You don't want to overfeed children. You don't want to treat them like adults. So the smaller size bowls work better for them. So when you're portioning anything for them, you should start with a smaller size bowl. Also paying attention to how they normally eat at home will also help you to know how much portions to give for them. Keeping it small, just small. And the thing is, lad, for us as adults, sometimes we don't know what small is, so I might have to be a bit more specific. You have 8-ounce bowls. That holds 2 cups of food. That's a safe maximum for like a child under 8 or so. Over 8, you could start getting into 3 cups.
Is there one thing that should always be in a lunchbox?
Most definitely, and that's an easy question to answer. I'm sure anybody can answer it. Drum roll, please. Da-da-da-da-da-da. It'll be water. That's on the top, and it's an absolute must. Kids, adults, water.
Why? Why is that?
Well, if we try to be scientific, the world is over 70% water. We are 70% water. It's just absolutely necessary. Almost every reaction that takes place inside of these bodies need water to happen. So, yeah, it's a must.
What advice would you give parents who have picky eaters?
Picky eaters. I've had quite a few picky eaters over my years, and it's always difficult. And I'm just a nutritionist, so I know it's difficult to be the parent. You have to deal with this every day for every meal. I would recommend that when you're eating at home, make sure it's a family activity with very little distractions, because sometimes I find picky eaters are distracted eaters more than picky eaters. Sometimes it's just because there's so many other things going on and eating is boring and they have other better things to do. So cutting down on distractions is one, and making it interesting. So whether you present it in interesting colors, shapes, if you use mealtime as also a time to bring in what they're learning at school, to kind of give something more to eating on a whole, that sometimes helps picky eaters. If you're really struggling, seeing a nutritionist might help, because sometimes it's a case where the child actually needs to be supplemented, and we can give you some ideas on what you can do to supplement.
Now, what about junk food, like candy and chips?
Okay.
Is it okay to treat, and how often can we treat the kiddos?
When I think about junk food, I think junk snacks and then junk food, if that's okay. Junk food is like the pizza, the burgers, ice cream in the bigger amounts, but then you have the gentler junk, like the chips, candy. Okay, so for like candy and chips, I would say, and don't crucify me for this, overly healthy people out there, once a day to once every other day, because I'm thinking more of like a rule of 80-20. If it's 80% healthy, 20% unhealthy, that's decent. We just really want for the majority of the foods to be great. So once a day for like a miniature size candy or a miniature size chocolate, and then chips, like maybe once a day, once every other day. What you can do is be as wise as possible about the type of junk. So for example, you heard me say miniature. So instead of the big large portions, you have smaller ones, like the fun size ones. You can include that. Sometimes chips, you can cut a bag of chips in half, and put it in a nice little container where it looks full, so you still feel like, well, I had a whole lot of chips when it was really only a small amount. So be smart about the type of junk. If it's chips, you could probably choose the baked ones versus the fried ones. There's a lot of interesting ones coming out these days, even apple that they dried. So all of those things might seem junky, but not as bad as others. So if you do it that way, once a day, once every other day should be fine. Bigger treats like pizza and fries and fried chicken and stuff like that, like either once a week or like twice a month. It depends on what type of child you have. If your child is really active, you can probably afford to treat more. If your child is very sedentary, treat less.
How would we know if our children are getting the right nutrients?
Okay. As you said that I think about a plant, you kind of know if a plant is getting what it needs based on how it looks. Is it green? Is it firm? Is it upright? For a child, you can look at how they're growing. You take them to the doctor. Are they meeting their milestones like they should, height-wise, weight-wise? If you're noticing that their weight is trending down, they're losing, something might be wrong there. If you're noticing that their weight is trending up progressively and in an abnormal way, then you'll also notice something is not quite right. You're not getting the right nutrients or the right balance of nutrients. Something else I like to think about too is how often do they get sick? How often do they catch a cold? It speaks to if the immune system is getting what it needs to really take care of them. So that might also be a good thing to look out for.
When should we see as nutritionists if we do notice some issues?
One, if you take them to the doctor and the doctor recommends it, that would be prime time to come and pay us a visit. Or if it's really plaguing you, like it's parents have good intuition, and you could tell when something isn't quite right, especially if you've been trying different things and it's still not improving. That would be a good time to also reach out to a nutritionist.
Okay. And how do parents book a consultation with you?
Very easy. 852-7500, that's to get to the operator, and then you ask for nutrition department, and then you get us. There's two of us, so you get one of the two of us. And that's it. We prefer with referral, however, because then we can get the doctor's opinion on what is really wrong. And maybe if any tests were done, we have access to that information so we can treat for as many things as is there. Versus when you just think of something and maybe some stuff are going on in the bottom that we don't know. So referrals are always better.
Thank you. Any last words of advice for our parents out there who are getting ready to go back to school?
One thing I would say is kids pay attention to what we do almost more than what we say. So if there are things that you really want for them to do food-wise or eating-wise, the best thing you could do is do it yourself or do it with them, so it becomes something that they're learning from you by action and not just by word.
Thanks for watching NHI Chat. Remember to follow our hashtag, Be Healthy, Be Happy, BVI.